Hello again from Skip, Victor Echo 6, Bravo, Golf Tango. Jan, PA0PLY, going through the MoonNet, organized a 6 centimeter event on July 7th. Just a casual get-together and have some fun. I wanted to get in on this, so I had to get things organized and get the 6 centimeter feet installed, and I decided to do a little bit of service work on the dish itself. When I say maintenance, I mean what I really wanted to get done mostly was put some grease on the worm on the elevation drive itself. So I had to get out this real long old step ladder I have and go up there with a can of grease and slap it on, I guess you'd say. This grease is called red and tacky, and it's kind of a high temperature, real gooey stuff. It doesn't melt off with just the sun heat getting on there, and I've used it for years. It seems like good stuff to put on bearings atop your tower or on worm drives that you don't want to have it drip off. I just take my finger and put a nice layer on the threads, and then on the metal slides of the heavy angle iron on both sides of it, there's a steel plate that scoots along there, so I keep her well lubricated. It really doesn't need it, but it's been a couple of years since I've been up there, so I figured, why not? Beautiful day for doing it. So it's an easy job with just using my finger, but the next job, I need a special tool, special grease gun I bought here a while back to get the next job done nicely. Okay, so I'm going to do some service work on the dish first before I put the 6 centimeter assembly up there. What I do for that, as you'll see in the video, that things get a little precarious up there. The last thing you need to do is have an old grease gun that you got to pump. I like to hang on to the frame when I'm up there. So I bought this little beauty here a while back. It's a Milwaukee electric powered grease gun, and it's a sweetheart. Just move this out of the way. This is what I use when I go up the tower frame to grease things. Got an M12 battery on it, and it puts out the grease. It's well worth it to have something like this up there. Makes life a lot easier when you're 20 feet in the air or so and trying to grease a tight grease nipple. What I'm going after here is the right hand side elevation bearing for that axis. It's a little tricky to get in there, but it's reachable. That was the easy bearing to get at. The one on the left side I couldn't reach. I'd have to go down and get the actuator turning and turn the dish on a little bit, and well, I won't bore you with that. So I was up there, I'll shoot some grease into the top ring bearing. I would eventually get the actuator up here, the hand control unit, and turn the dish, and at about every 45 or 50 degrees I would pump some grease into this bearing, so it's getting some lubrication here. It's mainly just to keep it full of grease, so there's no really weather protection up here, so water could go into it, and this way it's full of grease and lots of grease around the outside. Things aren't going to get in there and get it wet and start to seize up, so just one of those things to do. Next was a big slew gear itself, and there's all sorts of grease points in it. I won't go through all of them. I'll just show the end one here where it's connected to the motor. Just a quick shot in the dark with the grease. The two end ones, you don't want to get too carried away. I did it when I first installed this thing. Pumped in too much grease, and I popped the seals right out the end. Easy enough to slide back in again with a screwdriver, but you don't want to get carried away. The bottom wheel bearing is not serviceable. There's nothing to grease. It's all self-contained, and the way it rotates so slow that it'll outlast me, so nothing to look at there. I forgot when I was at the top of the ladder, up near the center of the dish, I had to look around, just look for obvious signs of wear and tear or problems. The encoder for the elevation looks good, and I opened up the wiring junction box just to see if water's been getting in there, but no, everything looks A-okay, so we're good to go. And this is when it started falling apart. So I quit playing around greasing the dish. I got the 6 centimeter feed out, got it wrapped up in this plastic cover, and went up the elevator and mounted it in the feed mount on the dish itself. Then I had to grab the 30/50 volt power supply I use for both 9 and 6 centimeters, and I knew it was set up for 9 centimeters at 30 volts, so I had to open it up, take it apart, and reconfigure it for the 50 volts I need for the 6 centimeter feed, and this is when it started. It's an easy enough job, just a matter of throwing around some jumpers and resetting this, and then readjusting the voltage regulator circuit for 50 volts from 30. Easy enough. It's at this point where I take my fancy DC load circuit and hook up to it and pull some current through the supply just to make sure everything's working. I don't want to have to haul the power supply all the way out to the dish and find it doesn't work. And this picture here is a previous picture when it worked good. This is when it all blew up. Of course, I wasn't going to take any pictures. I didn't expect this thing to blow up. But anyways, what happened after I got it set for 50 volts and I put the DC load on it to draw some current, one of the pass transistors shorted out, and the output went to 80 volts. I saw this one other time. I didn't think nothing of it. So I took the supply apart. I repaired it and hooked it up to the load circuit again. Blew it up one more time. Came right back out at 80 volts. So that's when I stopped and I said to myself, there's something not right here. So what I discovered is nothing wrong with my power supply. Is my DC load. And really, it's really only noticeable when I'm doing the 50 volt test or higher. When this thing is on, there's nothing connected to it. The 4 MOSFETs in there that act as a load are like a dead short. They're looking to pull current or something anyways. So for a brief period of time, it's a short. Well, the poor old 2N3055s, they couldn't handle that 50 volts at a dead short current, and so one of them gives up. Of course, as soon as this DC load sees the voltage, it starts reacting properly. Within a few milliseconds, it's okay. It's just at the very beginning. So another problem to figure out what. I've been working on it. I haven't got to an answer on it yet. But anyways, that was causing all the grief. And I've discovered that I wasn't going to get things ready for the 6 centimeter event on Sunday. So I set things aside and gave myself a rest. I was pulling my hair out left and right, what hair I have left. So the next day I got the power supply fixed. I tested it using just a resistor. Didn't touch the DC load to it this time. And I was in contact with Jan, PA0PLY, and he still wanted to make a sked for later on to make a 6 centimeter contact with him. So with that good news, I got the power supply outside mounted on the dish, and I put the 6 centimeter feed back on again. And got things ready, did some testing, and got ready to make a sked with Jan a couple of days later. Well, if you made it this far, I salute you. This video turned out to be a little bit longer than I thought it would be. I actually had a reason to make it a decent length. I've got a new internet connection here, and I wanted to see what or how long it would take to upload it compared to what I used to have before, which is brutally slow. So I'll let you know in the next video. Anyways, thanks for watching. 73s. Thanks to Jan and Peter. And we'll say 73s from Skip, Victor Echo 6, Bravo, Golf Tango.